Well, let's start by asking the basic question. I'll ask you this of Mr. Simons, Ms. Wilson, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Chopra. I know each of you appreciates the importance of cooperation between the FTC and Congress. Nevertheless, these nomination hearings give us an opportunity to underscore that point. So the question is, if confirmed, will you pledge to work collaboratively with this committee and its members to provide thorough and timely responses to our requests for information?
I would be thrilled to, Senator.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Senator Thune.
Absolutely, Senator.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm going to direct this question to all four nominees, and it's kind of a big question, but if you could perhaps maybe summarize your views on this. But with the growth of search and social media in recent years, I'd like to get a response from each of you regarding the state of competition in the American technology sector. Some argue that big tech should be subject to more antitrust scrutiny, that the applicable law would seem to require a more nuanced analysis, one that's not based on size alone. So could you just sort of fairly quickly describe your views regarding antitrust concerns with respect to large tech firms such as Facebook and Google? And Mr. Simons, we'll start with you.
Sure, happy to. So at a high level, I believe that big is not necessarily bad. I also believe that big is not necessarily good. Sometimes big is good, sometimes big is bad, and sometimes it's both at the same time. Oftentimes, companies get big because they are successful with the consumer. They offer a good service at low price, and that's a good thing, and we don't want to interfere with that. On the other hand, companies that are already big and influential can sometimes use inappropriate means, anti-competitive means, to get big or to stay big. And if that's the case, then we should be vigorously enforcing the antitrust laws and attacking that conduct and prohibiting it. That's my overall approach, Senator.
Thank you, Ms. Simons. Ms. Wilson, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Senator. I know there have been questions about whether the antitrust laws as currently crafted are sufficient to address these issues, and I would like to affirm my view today that, in fact, the antitrust laws as written today are broad and flexible and are capable of adapting to evolving technology. So I have no concerns at this time about our ability to address the issues that may arise under the FTC's current jurisdiction. Obviously, if we find that there are any gaps, we would come back to you and open a dialogue about that. In terms of whether there are issues, I understand that there have been investigations into companies in the past. There has been a lapse of time, and technology has evolved, and so it may make sense to take another look at concerns that have been raised. My door is open. I am interested in hearing concerns or complaints that people may have about various companies, and I would, as I sit here today, tell you that there is no company that is above the law or beyond the reach of the law. I would support, if confirmed, Chairman Simons in taking a look at potentially unlawful conduct and following the facts where they lead.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you for the question, Senator. In a sense, it is the big question. Like many Americans, I experience daily the incredible impact that many of these firms have on my life. I see the impact it has on the lives of others, including even my little children. I think the FTC has a very big role to play here in applying the law fairly and applying it carefully, and very importantly, in continuing to keep abreast of changing trends in the markets, watching how they develop and seeing how our laws, both consumer protection and antitrust, apply to them. I don't know all the answers, but the two commitments that I want to make to this committee are, first, that if confirmed, I will help keep the agency abreast of developments, working with career staff and my colleagues here. And second, if there are violations of the law, no matter who is committing them, that the FTC will enforce the law.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chopra.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to just offer a few observations. One is that unlike most sectors of the economy, large technology firms don't just compete with each other. They're competing with several other market verticals and sectors of the economy. They're competing with healthcare companies. They're competing with retail and so many other major sectors. And this has been a real challenge for equity and debt analysts seeking to predict how industries will evolve, how profitability and market dynamics will occur. And I think that it implores us at the Commission to make sure that we have the adequate talent, analytical capabilities, and to engage in constant learning. I agree with Mr. Simons that there's a real role to continue to look back at past actions to determine whether models and empirical analysis have been accurate, how they can be evolved. But I think it's an area that we need to be humble and continue to learn to effectively understand dynamics in this marketplace.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Simons, Mr. Chopra, the American Bar Association's antitrust law section issued a 60-page report in January of 2017 on the state of antitrust enforcement. The antitrust section makes a number of recommendations for improving the FTC's handling of antitrust and consumer protection issues, such as recommending that all consumer protection orders should sunset in 5 years absent extenuating circumstances such as fraud or recidivism. Do you agree with this recommendation regarding a 5-year sunset for all orders? And if so, will you seek to implement this reform should you be confirmed?
So first, let me say that the antitrust, the ABA antitrust section does a terrific job. They have a whole host of extremely thoughtful people, and so anytime they make a recommendation, you want to think about it seriously. And so that's what I would commit to do. I don't have a conclusive view yet. I would want to talk to the staff at the agency before reaching any conclusions on that. And of course, I would want to talk to my fellow commissioners.
Yeah.
Senator Thune, the report had a number of recommendations, some of which Chair Olhausen has already sought to implement, and that appears to be well received. I would share that with respect to model orders, I think that recommendation about revisiting some of those model orders with respect to consent decrees that are filed in administrative proceedings or in federal court, looking about whether those lengths is appropriate. 20 years that is currently used, I know, is not common in all federal agencies. So I think it's worth always revisiting whether things can be changed or not, but I would really want to consult with the experts and staff at the Commission before making any final comments on that.